America, America, make God thy gold refined, till all success be nobleness, and ever again divine. And you know, when I was in school, we used to sing it something like this. Listen here. Oh, beautiful, far spacious skies.
Hello and welcome back to Wayland Weekly Buzz. I'm your host, Ken Isaacson. This week we were scheduled to talk to the Recreation Commission about the local field project, reports of vandalism at Oxbow Meadows, and the latest turf challenge, PFAS or PFAS. But we had a last-minute scheduling problem and are postponing that program to a future date. Instead, we will present an encore of the vaping emergency interview from earlier this month. It's still a major problem, and there will be 2 informational forums later this month in Wayland. If you haven't seen the original, please stay tuned after these committee reports. At the October 15th Selectmen's meeting, Town Administrator Louise Miller reported that work is progressing on the signage wayfinding project along Route 20 in the business district. The project is at the stage of generating, developing, and communicating new ideas for the project. The Department of Housing and Community Development will be issuing technical grants to perform the implementation work. Grants could be up to $200,000. The town is in the process of adding walk-in refrigeration rooms at both the middle school and Happy Hollow. The Facilities Department is in the process of obtaining bids and if funding levels require, articles will be brought to annual town meeting. The local school roof project is underway. The contract has been received from the project manager and the initial planning meeting has been held. The town is still waiting for the contract from the project architect. Then the facilities director will be working with the architect and the project manager on the design. The Massachusetts School Building Authority will be reviewing the project at its October board meeting. A project cost estimate should be ready for their January 2nd meeting. This would allow a firm project cost for inclusion in the annual town meeting warrant for this coming April. There's also the need to build the annex building roof, to bid on the annex building roof, which is 20 years old. PMBC has jurisdiction over this project and will be reviewing the design and cost estimates. At their October 2nd meeting, the Finance Committee debated, then voted to set the fiscal year 21 operating budget spending increase at $2.7 million over this year. It includes town, schools, and unclassified budgets. The spending level was set based on the allowance under Proposition 2.5. A budget memo was sent to the town administrator, selectmen, school superintendent, and school committee. The memo explains that the $2.7 million equates to a 3.3% increase, but that they are recommending the dollar figure. The operating budget is only one part of the budget recommendation that the FinCom will make to town meeting. The second part is the capital budget spending level. That discussion begins at their October 21st meeting. A copy of the memo and the draft 5-year capital improvement plan are available at our website, wacam.tv/buzz. At the school committee's October 7th meeting, Tricia O'Reilly was introduced as the new interim principal at Happy Hollow School. There has been strong parental concern about the regular Happy Hollow principal who has been absent since the beginning of the school year. Ms. Riley will fill the position for the balance of this year. She has 15 years experience teaching 5th grade at the Claypit Hill School and 9 years as curriculum director for math and science at the elementary level in the district. the school department will soon be starting the hiring process for a permanent principal. There were 3 public comments. A junior at the high school and 2 parents addressed the school committee about the math department procedure of not returning student tests. School committee member and former chair Ellen Greco responded to the comments, saying that the purpose of the policy is to build better relationships and so teachers can spend more time with their students. Responding to assertions by some parents that withholding the test was illegal, Superintendent Yanofsky told The Buzz that the procedure is legal and has been carefully vetted by the school district's attorney. In the next order of business, Barbara Coughlin, head of the high school math department, delivered a presentation on the math procedure. She explained that the math department is creating an environment where students understand themselves as learners, saying it's less about what grade did I get and more about students understanding their strengths and weaknesses, an approach that builds upon students' experiences in the middle school. Superintendent Yanofsky told The Buzz, students keep certain end-of-unit assessments in a portfolio in class. For these tests, high school math teachers provide learning logs that detail the areas where students need to improve and give them access to new problems on which students can practice outside of class in order to hone their skills. Ms. Coughlin reported that teachers are seeing the benefits already. She explained, when students ask for extra help, for example, they're asking their teachers not just for an answer to a particular problem, but for help in applying a skill to a number of different problems. We hope to have Ms. Coughlin join us at The Buzz to talk about the math policy at an upcoming program. Now turning our attention to artificial turf. Even as the new turf field at the high school is laid down, and the Recreation Commission continues to plan for yet another local field warrant article next spring at the annual town meeting, new and troubling information is coming in about the potential safety hazards of the substances in the turf. Crumb rubber infill used in the turf has been suspect for years. It has been found to contain cadmium, benzene, and other known carcinogens. These have been linked to kidney cancer, low infant birth rates, and a range of diseases. Now the blades of grass-like material that make up the carpet itself are under suspicion. An October 9th Boston Globe article about Franklin, Massachusetts, says the new concern is for per and perfluoroalkyl. Now that's a tough one. Perfluoroalkyl chemical substances. The chemicals described as PFAS. Elevated levels of PFAS have been linked to kidney cancer, low infant birth rates, and a range of diseases. You may recall that environmentalists in Wayland questioned the safety of artificial turf when the first field was approved for the high school in 2007. But the most alarming report came out about 5 years ago when a University of Washington soccer coach cited a large number of goalkeepers who play on turf and had contracted cancer, mainly blood-related lymphomas. Then a 2017 report by the state of Washington had found no connection between the incidence of cancer with soccer players and their exposure to artificial turf. The Boston Globe reports that by January 2019, 260 athletes have contracted cancer. Recent findings have raised concerns about the safety of the 13,000 artificial turf fields installed in recent years across the country, about 1,500 new ones each year. According to the Globe article, presently there are hundreds in Massachusetts. We contacted the DPW Water Division, the School Committee, and the Recreation Commission to find out what they know about the levels of PFAS in Wayland. We were told by the School Committee and Recreation Commission that they do not yet have any information to report, but will inform us when they do. Water Superintendent Don Millette told The Buzz that in 2014, our source wells were sampled for 6 PFAS contaminants. All of the wells came back non-detect for PFAS, but he said that testing now would be done to a low detection level. In April 2019, the Mass Department of Research and Standards set a health advisory for PFAS at 20 parts per trillion. That's parts per trillion, 20 ppt. They have not yet set a final standard. Millett said there's a sampling that's out now, and he'll expect results back soon. Soon we'll report on that when the results are in. In other news, on Saturday, October 19th, there was a dedication ceremony at Herd Farm for the restoration of their heirloom apple orchard. The event highlighted the natural and cultural history of one of Wayland's most treasured resources. Herd Farm is near the Sudbury River off Pelham Island Road. It is managed by the Wayland Conservation Commission and consists of 85 acres of diverse land and several miles of trails, all maintained by volunteers. And those are our reports for this week. Now here's our interview. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Wayland Weekly Buzz. I'm your host, Ken Isaacson. This week our topic is the vaping emergency. You've probably heard of that. All 50 states now have imposed age restrictions on the purchase of e-cigarette products. In Wayland, the legal age is 21. That was until our governor recently imposed a 4-month ban on all vaping products lasting until January 25th, 2020. The Mass Department of Health is relying on local health departments to assist with enforcement of the ban. Tonight's program is about what users should know about vaping, the risks, reasons for the statewide ban, and upcoming educational sessions about it. I'm joined by Wayland Board of Health Director Julia Jungens and Director of Youth and Family Services, Jason Verhosky. And as I mentioned earlier, School Superintendent Arthur Yanofsky will not be with us to talk about the effects and use of vaping in the schools, because apparently the town was advised by legal counsel that it could be sued if it was perceived as advocating against vaping. So let's start with what I'd like to call Vaping 101. What exactly is vaping?
Sure. So vaping, Ken, is basically the process of taking an e-liquid, which is either made from polyethylene glycol or vegetable glycol or various other products, depending on whether it's a nicotine or a cannabis-based vaping product. But basically taking some form of glycol or oil and then heating it through the use of a battery at that point in time to create either an aerosol or a vapor that would be inhaled into your lungs at that point in time, either delivering a vapor of nicotine and or THC or CBD or whatever product you're looking to get at that point in time.
Okay. Is that the same as juuling?
Juuling is a form of vaping.
Is that like is that the brand name, like Kleenex is toilet is tissue?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So what's the history of this product?
So the history of vaping in the commercial aspect at this point in time goes back about 10 years at this point in time for the commercial aspect. We started to see commercially viable e-cigarettes coming out through a variety of different brands and different products that looked much more like an e-cigarette, so something more like this, where basically it's a round tube, which is composed of basically a battery section, which is what provides the electricity to actually heat a coil. The coil is in the top section, which is actually what they call a tank, which contains the e-liquid or the e-juice, which would be something like this, basically, which carries the nicotine or the THC or the CBD at that point in time.
So that's not the nicotine. That's just the carrier for it.
This does have nicotine in it. So this particular product is actually a cherry flavored e-liquid that contains 1.6% nicotine per milliliter. So you can get it in different strengths at that point in time. So it has a different amount of milligrams of nicotine or what other substance you're looking for.
So that's a refill for that.
This particular one would be a refill for a vapor product more like this, where basically you have a refillable tank where you can change the juice, change the flavor, put different things in it at that point in time from a different substance as well. Most of the commercial ones that were first available were prepackaged, like this particular e-cigarette. where basically you would buy this as a singular unit. It comes pre-charged with a set amount of the e-juice in it. And at that point in time, as mentioned, when you inhale on it, the battery would become activated. It would heat the coil, which heats the juice, which creates the aerosol or the vapor at that point in time. And then when the battery dies, it is no longer useful for the consumer at that point in time, and you just dispose of the whole entire thing.
So now there's a whole range of things you can get.
Exactly. So above and beyond the base level kind of cigarette-based products, there are the refillable tank-based products. This is an older one where basically this unit right here is a tank that, like I said, can be filled. It has a coil in it, which is what actually heats the product once again. So you would basically just screw that onto a rechargeable battery, so you could use this over and over again and fill it with whatever you want. There's ones like the Juul product, which this is the Juul battery. It's just a small rectangle at that point in time. It has a small charger that you would plug into a USB port, so you could basically just plop it right on there, and it's magnetic and it charges it. And then Juul sells their particular cartridges in what they call pods, which look like this. So basically this one is full of a liquid at this point in time. They just go into the battery like that, and it clicks right in. And at that point in time, if this was charged, there is a small light right there that if you tapped it, it would actually blink at you to indicate how charged it is at that point in time. But basically you would just inhale it and it activates, and you use it until the pod's done and go from there. They sold pods in a number of different flavors originally, ranging from some different fruity flavors as well as tobacco, mint, menthol. This particular one is fruit medley, which had a 5% strength nicotine and sold in 4 pods. Recently,
5%, let's interrupt you for a second.
No problem.
5% nicotine, how does that compare to a cigarette?
So basically what that would be is 5% nicotine would equate to basically 1 pod is the equivalent of a full pack of cigarettes on average at this point in time. The different forms of nicotine that are available, Juul uses something called nicotine salts, which is a much more concentrated version of nicotine, versus the liquid in the refills is typically, you can get salt-based, but typically it's what they call free-based nicotine, which is in liquid format, which is not as concentrated. One of the challenges with the nicotine aspect of it is pure nicotine in either liquid or salt format is a poison that's actually poison enough to cause major harm to an adult and potentially cause death for a small child or somebody who is elderly or has compromised health.
So let me ask you this question. If I were to use this and just keep using it nonstop like a chain smoker, how long would it take to use up one of those pods?
They claim that each pod has roughly about 200 puffs on it. So at that point in time, however long it takes you to puff on it 200
and that's the
times.
equivalent of a pack of cigarettes?
Correct.
Okay. All right, did you have more to show us?
I mean, they do come in all shapes and sizes. This would be more of a advanced model.
Is that a newer model? Or?
This one's actually a little bit older. That being said, if you went to a specialized vape shop, this would be more like what you would probably find in the sense that it's a whole battery unit where you can control the voltage, how much vapor you get, how large the tank is, how it actually interacts, how you interact with it rather, and what you're getting out of it. So that would be something that would be more of a in-depth customizable thing about a higher price point, whereas the Juul is something where it's small, it's discreet, you can easily put it in your pocket, put it in your sleeve. There's also a whole host of other vapor products at this point in time that are designed to be more discreet at this point in time, so people don't necessarily know what you're using it for.
And what types of things are out there for flavor?
For flavor, there's literally anything. For the prepackaged ones, Juul has eliminated the marketing of their fruity-based flavors. So at this point in time, up until the ban went into effect, the only flavors that you could buy locally were a classic tobacco flavor, a mint, and a menthol from Juul. That being said, there's a tremendous amount of aftermarket product where they sell empty Juul cartridges that other companies have taken on the role of fulfilling the fruity products, where you could get things from pink lemonade to gummy bears to graham cracker crunch to commercialized candy flavors. if you can think of it, it's pretty much out there.
Okay. So it's all over the news right now. Newsweek had a cover story, excuse me, on it this week. How did it become such a big issue?
Well, the CDC is currently investigating multi-state outbreak of lung disease that is being reported by different states in the United States. I think we're up to probably 50 something at this point. I don't know what the current number is, but it has been going up.
I believe that's just Massachusetts as well. Nationwide, the number's in the hundreds at this point in time of cases that are being investigated as far as pulmonary disease.
Right.
And I believe the death count associated with it at this point in time is at least 13.
Yeah.
Wow. So Governor Baker recently implemented a 4-month ban on all the vaping products. Tell us about that.
So on September 24th, we were advised on the local level that the Department of Public Health was holding a conference call. And so I participated on the conference call, and they explained what was happening and that Governor Baker was declaring a public health emergency regarding vaping, and that the Commissioner of Public Health was going to ban all vaping devices that are being sold in retail stores and any associated signage. So they were asking for our help enforcing this ban, temporary ban, and they were advising us that they were communicating to these retailers that this was happening and that we would be coming out to do follow-up. So that later on that day, we got an email with numerous documents outlining the order and the emergency, and letters to retailers, drafts that we could use, and letters to local public health as well, and guidance on how to handle going to inspect these retail establishments. So the next day, we went out and inspected all our tobacco retailers in Wayland. There are 15 of them. One of them is actually not selling tobacco but has a permit. So we went to all these businesses and made sure that they pulled all the products from the shelves.
What was their reaction to that?
Well,
To the ban, obviously. To the ban itself, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, they
so
weren't too happy about it, I imagine.
There were
Or is that not true?
people that were not, they hadn't pulled their products yet. There were a few that hadn't pulled anything out yet when I arrived, but they were in the process of pulling them when I arrived. And
Because they saw you
they were
coming?
very,
Or?
well, they were actually, very compliant. We didn't have any problems. There were people that were actually coming into the store still looking to find these products while I was there. And, I informed them that the ban was effective immediately, which was, the day before, and that we were following through with the orders that we received that night. And so, but, everyone was pretty compliant. And, I handed out paperwork that outlined the order from the governor and the emergency information, and I went over it with the staff employees, that I was meeting at these places, and also we ended up following through with an email that included all the documents as well. So we handed it out during the inspection, explained things, made sure that they took down any signage and put up the signage that was provided by the state, which is basically, about the ban. Effective September 2019, 24th, that Governor Baker had declared a public health emergency in the Commonwealth due to severe lung disease associated with the use of e-cigarettes and vaping products, and the epidemic of e-cigarette use among youth. The Commissioner of Public Health has temporarily prohibited the sale and display of all vaping products and e-cigarettes until further notice. So that's the sign that is up in the stores.
So it's, I read an article in the Metro West Daily News, it's in there just this week, about a store owner in Milford who is very upset about this because he had to close shop totally. That's all he sells.
Yeah.
So this decision by the governor seems like it wasn't very well thought out in terms of detail for people like that. Did you run into any kind of any of those kinds of feelings when you were going around to the store owners?
There were a couple of people that had more products than others that were, making statements that, this is a lot of money, what's going to happen, and I just, went over things and explained, what had been happening, which was a series of events that started with the Commissioner of Public Health directing physicians to track, lung disease and report it and monitor and do surveillance in the Commonwealth.
Mhm.
And after they had findings that were similar to what the CDC was looking at, that was when they determined that they needed to do something. And that was when the public health emergency was declared.
So now all the vaping products, the legal ones, are basically quarantined and not saleable. But there must be other sources other than that. I'm assuming you can get it on the web. You can probably get it on the black market or on the street.
It is banned on the internet as well.
It's banned on the internet. How do you enforce that, though?
Well, that is a very good question.
That's the problem,
and I
right?
don't know the answer to that, but one of the concerns we have, and one of the reasons why we're here today is because there is a concern for these products being on the streets, and people getting their hands on them and possibly not being aware of they could be tampered with. We have no idea what people could put in them or do to them. So we want parents to be aware and talk to their kids, and people to be aware if they have previously used these products. There are tobacco cessation efforts that are being put out by the state to help people, if they, are possibly addicted to vaping products, that can help them. And there's information on the state website. So there are some things that can help people out there, but we, want people to be aware about this issue, that they could be sold on the streets.
I guess that's a big potential problem. I understand the town has scheduled some upcoming educational events around the issue. That's something you're doing, right,
Yes.
Jason? Can you give us an update on that, or
Sure.
a rundown on what's going on?
There'll be 3 vaping education programs that are happening in the near future. The first being tomorrow in partnership with a coalition in Westboro called Westboro Connects. So they're doing an event tomorrow night where I'm one of 2 panelists. The other is a physician that'll be discussing the impact of vaping. Once again, doing a vaping 101, talking a little bit about public health concerns and usage of vape products, both nicotine and cannabis-based. And we'll also be doing parent education events here in Wayland as well on 2 nights in October coming up. So on Monday the 28th and Tuesday the 29th. Monday is at the Wayland Middle School. It'll be directly following an overview of the Metro West Adolescent Health Survey data that we have, and the following nights will be at the high school.
Okay.
And those are both at 7 o'clock.
And we've got a slide of that, which is up on our website now.
And just one more thing, Governor Baker, really, his intent with this ban was to protect public health, because they feel they need time to investigate what is happening with all these different illnesses that are being reported that fall into the CDC criteria of what they're investigating, and figure out how to better handle things. That's really, what the information is, that not everybody really maybe understands, you know.
And Wayland's not the only town doing this, right?
This is throughout the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
We did not do this on our own,
I
and
just
that
wanted
was
to
a
make
question that
Just want
came.
to make, yeah, I want to make
That
that clear.
question actually was asked of me when I did the inspections, you know, oh, is this happening only in Wayland? And I was like, no, although we have been asked to, you know, partner with the state on this, and, you know, if there's anything that continues to be sold, or if we find out that products are being sold that during this ban, this temporary ban, then we can step in and do enforcement, and there are, you know, fines and steps that can be taken to handle those types of situations, especially if someone refuses, you know, to take it off their shelves or continues to sell. So, but this is not a Wayland only, this is throughout the Commonwealth.
I thought we
So,
should make that
yeah,
point clear.
yeah, that's
Um, What is being done now during this time of this ban to deal with the issue in a better way? Do you know of anything what's going on in the state to deal with this?
Well, we're expecting to get some updates probably on Monday. There is a conference call that's coming up with the Commissioner of Public Health that I'm hoping we'll get some information on, you know, maybe some more research that they're doing or findings that they have, and that they can share with local public health, that will, you know, try to make sure we put it on our website. If we have we're trying to put everything we receive on our website. So we'll certainly do that as well with that when we get it.
Okay. All right. Anything else that either you want to add that we didn't cover that's important to know?
I think we covered it, everything.
Got it all, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you so much.
thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate the information. That's the buzz for this week. Next week, our guest is Aida Jenis, Chair of the Wayland Public Library Board of Trustees. We'll talk about changes over the past year, their plans for the near future, and their vision for the library in coming years. Remember, the Buzz airs on Sundays and Tuesdays at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. on your public cable channel, Comcast Channel 8 and Verizon Channel 37, and we're online on demand anytime at our website, waycam.tv/buzz. There you'll find an archive of past programs and a schedule of upcoming shows, along with links to documents from subjects presented on the shows. And you'll find a transcript of each week's interview, along with our committee reports, every week in the Town Crier, both in print and online. If you have a town issue you'd like discussed on the Buzz, call us, email us, or use the contact form on our website and tell us what you think about, what's on your mind and what you think about the show. I'm Ken Isaacson. On behalf of the entire volunteer crew and guests here at Wayland Weekly Buzz, thanks for watching. Please tell your friends to tune in too.
What's the buzz? Tell me what's happening. 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 What should you want to know?